Dr. Davinsky.
Hello, Spencer.
Hi.
I just want to say that I'm a long-time fan. I'm
Hmm.
a sociologist. So I just wanted to touch on one thing, because the thing I appreciate about you is you don't tend to grift. Like, you don't take talking points that are popular on the right. For instance, you're pro-abortion, right? You're pro-vaccine. You're pro
Yeah.
the intervention in Ukraine. So that's what I appreciate about you. And I think you mentioned the other day that you'd have a lot more followers if you kind of stayed in a lane and picked a side. But I have no respect for people like that, like Steven Crowder types, or you know what I'm
Right.
saying. So the what I wanted to address today, and forgive me, I'm a little bit drunk. It's Saturday night here. I'm in
Uh-huh.
Thailand. So
Okay.
what I wanted to address was race and IQ. Um, so I've done a lot of research into this. I actually got the last interview ever with Professor Flynn, the founder of the Flynn Effect,
Right.
and I've posted my sources underneath this chat. So basically, you can check out the sources here. But there was a 2015 meta-analysis that was done by the University of Amsterdam, and they found that the average sub-Saharan IQ is 80, and that they're talking about in sub-Saharan African countries today, so Kenya and all of these countries, it's 80, which seems low, but from old standards, that was the average for Britain and Western Europe in the 1950s. So I think the Flynn effect is taking place there. So
The
I
average
mean,
IQ was 80 in Britain in the 1950s. I have.
yeah, yeah. You can look at the meta-analysis. I've got it in the video. It's about halfway through. So yeah, they're saying that it was comparable to Western Europe during that time. So my hypothesis is, uh, as nutrition improves, as education improves in these countries, then there'll be a rise. Because you can't really
Okay.
say that
Well, I that
1950.
this is all fair. Let me do this. I promise you that I will listen to that video that you posted. So is this just you? This is you speaking in this video?
Yeah, this is me speaking. I fast. So the first skip to like 3 minutes in, because the
Okay.
first one I added, and it was kind of just me speaking. But I put all my sources about 3 minutes in, and it only goes for about 7 minutes. And I really think that it could possibly change your mind definitively on this subject, because I do think it's a bad meme. For instance, Lynn. Lynn is the one when you go to like highest and lowest average IQs in the world, and you get that list. That's compiled by Lynn, and
Yeah.
Lin was he's like 90 years old now. And what he
Yeah.
did is he would go to the developing world and he would purposely exclude educated populations out of um, out of the average. So he wouldn't test those, which would bring down the average. And this is documented as well.
Well,
So
he says that explicitly in his books, actually, that he's discounting. I mean, it would be strange to go to Oxford University and get an average IQ of a bunch of graduate students and then declare that the average IQ of Britain is 130 or something. That would
yeah,
be
but I'm
not
saying it's not a fair sample because he did take the educated people in European countries. He didn't exclude those. That's what they were saying in this
okay.
study. So I do think it's interesting because there's one, it's like 62, which would be complete mental retardation. It's like
Right.
it's untenable. And one last thing is people talk about the G loading. Are you familiar with this?
Yes, G factor, yes.
So they say G is the inherent intelligence aspect that can't be improved. And there's another study that I mentioned in this
They
video
don't
from
necessarily say that. General intelligence is not an inherent thing that can't be improved. General intelligence has been improved by the Flynn effect. General intelligence is a kind of all encompassing ability for one to do anything. So, most someone who's quite smart is going to actually be pretty good at math, pretty good at writing a poem, pretty good at writing a essay. He might even be pretty good at baseball, to be honest, because these things are generally speaking correlated, though they're not correlated at the extreme, in the
yeah,
sense that someone who might be a brilliant, Dostoevsky couldn't tie his shoes or something like that. He's so brilliant, outsized in linguistic capacity, but
yeah,
totally, incompetent in other ways. But generally speaking, all of these things are aligned. That's what G is. It's not the
yeah.
idea that G can't change through something like the Flynn effect or just education.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I have heard some kind of alt right figures mention G. But what I was going to say is the Ravens test is the highest G loading for an IQ test, and
Uh-huh.
they did this in South Africa with university students, and they showed that the G increased the most actually for black students. So I do think that it is a cultural thing also. So if you go to populations that have never seen printed materials, geometric shapes, they're sitting under a tree. They're not in a
Yeah.
proper classroom setting. You can't really take that with much value. You know what I mean?
Okay. I will say this. I'm going to move on, but I definitely will listen to your video.
And
I promise you that.
would it be possible to get? I've been asking for a while. I've interviewed some big names like J.F. Garapi,
Uh-huh.
Professor Flynn, John McAfee. I'd love to interview you if that'd be possible.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. I think
So,
I'm following you now. So just send me a DM.
okay, I will message you. Dude, I really love your content. You're one of my favorite people to listen to, actually,
Oh, well,
and
thank you.
I
I
really
appreciate that.
appreciate how you've leveled out. You've always been kind of level though, and that's the thing. Is like they took these clips where you spurged out for a little bit, but even back in 2016 when I'd listen to you, you'd always reason, follow a logical train of thought. So I mean, I feel bad for you in a way because those
Well,
clips were not
well, yeah. I
representative
mean, they
of who
want to
you are.
demonize you. I think they find me less useful now. They're kind of going back to the old standard.